Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Atomic Class. Today's lesson, guys, we're going over Jason Aaron Thor versus War Kakashi from Naruto. And yeah, this is another part in my series of videos taking comic book characters and putting them against the Naruto universe. If you haven't already, I already have two videos in this playlist of videos for the Comics vs. Naruto characters, being New 52 Batman versus Itachi Uchiha, and Doomsday versus the Akatsuki. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into today's battle. We're going to be going over their strength, speed, tech, and durability. And yeah, we're going to see who comes out on top in this battle. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's battle. Let's go. So the first thing we needed to go over is their strength. Now we'll go over Thor first. So Thor has many different strength feats in this run. We know that Mjolnir is said to be able to shatter planets, and this is confirmed during his battle with Gore. Now it's implied that either Gore or his minions were able to destroy this creature, this god of, I guess, this giant creature that is said to be able to wrestle black holes. This is consistent with stuff that has been said about King Thor in the future, All Father to Thor, that was able to do a similar feat by, I guess, throwing an entire planet into a black hole or stuff like that, and just stuff in general to do with black holes. So like I said, it is implied that it might actually be these all black minions that Thor was able to create that actually killed this god. But the fact that it said that he wrestled black holes, I guess for fun or something like that, is ridiculous in the strength department, considering that if these are the lackeys that were able to do this to this type of god, and Thor is able to fight their leader Gore, very impressive from a strength stand feat. Now, we also get to see that while Thor was fighting Gore during this run, that they were actually destroying planets or moons that they were fighting on, and they were just hopping from planet to planet, and their battle was just destroying these moons or planets. Really cool scene. And yeah, we also got to see that Thor had heard that one of the moons or planets was being destroyed. I guess its core was getting unstable, and it was going to blow itself apart. And there was actually civilians on that planet, so he was actually able to use his strength, his super strength, to actually put the planet back together and stabilize its core. That would require a ridiculous amount of strength, so that should be noted. It was also said by one of Gore's created creations, basically, that was posing or was created to be his wife, that their entire planet was shaking while they were battling in space. So the shockwaves from their blows was actually affecting the Gore's planet that he had created, his base on and stuff like that, where he was going to use the God Bomb and that. We also get to see that, like I said, that King Thor, All Father Thor in the future, was able to throw an entire planet with Gore and, Gore's body and the All Black, the Necro Sword, into a black hole. So that was really cool. Now, this is important because Thor, the Thor we're talking about, was able to beat Odin in a fight, and we do know that Allfather Thor is stronger than Odin, but he should be in a similar, level of strength, or at least, not that far behind. So Thor should be able to do similar feats to what King Thor was able to do, even though he has a lot more experience. This being a younger Thor, and just the fact that he was able to fight side by side with King Thor. Like I said, I'm not saying he's as strong, but he shouldn't be way, way weaker, considering the feats we see in this run. At least that's how I took it whenever I read the run. We also get to see that, well, it is possible that he's really far behind, but, it's just not super clear. So if you have a comment down below on how you interpreted, All Father Thor's power compared to, the present day Thor, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about that. Thor was also able, I kid you not, able to use his Mjolnir, or some type of hammer that he had, and he just strapped it onto a planet with a chain. And it wasn't a planet. It was it was a prison, basically, that was in a different realm. and it was said while they were in it that it was the size of a planet. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, we don't know if this is going to be like, a higher planetary feat of strength, because it's just Mjolnir that he's throwing and taking this planet, far into deep space, and they're already in space, but into a different direction than where they're at, basically to keep going endlessly into the void, basically a space, through space. And yeah, really cool feat, and definitely would be planetary, considering they did state that it was the size of a planet. We don't know if it's small planet or giant planet or just like Earth size. I don't know. But overall, would be, I guess, a planetary feat, so we have to mention it. We also know that Thor says that he can throw moons, which is consistent with what Thor did during his fight with the three Thors, because he was actually throwing moons apparently. So that made sense, and he says that he can also hold thunderstorms in his hands. It's really cool. And the final feat, when it comes to Thor, which I thought was pretty funny, was during the run he actually had gotten with someone, and just them making love caused the entire seas of the earth apparently to be like roaring, and there was like a thunderstorm, raging thunderstorm. It says that there was a raging thunderstorm while they were making love, and until all the seas all over the world were roiling and heaving. So yeah, just that. Thor just doing something like that, making love, was able to cause like a worldwide catastrophe that was happening. I'm not sure if that was just supposed to be poetic and not actually, like kind of like symbolic and not actually happening. But I thought it was pretty funny, so we added it in here, and you can take it any way you want. It doesn't really affect how the fight's gonna go, because it's not a battle feat or anything, so we're not really taking it super seriously. But I thought I'd put it in for anyone that hasn't read the run. It's some good stuff. But yeah, let's jump into Kakashi. So Warrior Kakashi, there's different ways to look at him. We're gonna talk about his base first. Base Kakashi's strength should not be ridiculous. He was able to fight against, I believe it's their Six Tails versions of the Jinchuriki, and he was able to use his lightning blade or lightning cable to basically cut off most of their arms, and maybe their limbs too. I think it was mostly their arms. And Kakashi was able to fight against him, and we do know that if you look at Naruto Part 1, when Naruto went into his one-tail state, and not even his one-tail state, just having the chakra cloak, as we saw against like Haku, who apparently was able to move light speed, not like anywhere, but just to the mirrors, was able to tag her eventually, tag him, Haku. We could say that Kakashi does have the battle reaction in this level, in base, to be able to tag someone like Haku if given the right circumstances, but in reality, he's probably a lightning timer or a little above that. But we'll talk about that more in speed. But mostly when it comes to strength, and since we're talking about Warrior Kakashi, we're including his perfect Susanoo, and his perfect Susanoo was not able to really swap hands with Kaguya, and Kaguya, as stated by Sasuke, had a ridiculous amount of chakra that he couldn't even believe that such a person existed. But it's kind of hard to say how strong Kaguya is, because Kaguya did get knocked down by Sakura, and Sakura is pretty garbage tier. So it's kind of like an anti-feat, and I really don't like including it, because everything before that proves that Kaguya was on a different level, not to be getting hit by Sakura and getting, shot down like that with a regular punch. It was really dumb. But to me, that's just bad writing, but it is something that happened, so we do have to include it. And yeah, Kakashi in base was able to move in Kaguya's gravity dimension as well as Obito. It's not really explained how they do this. I guess they want to say that somehow Kakashi has more base strength, than sits past Naruto and Rinnegan Sasuke, or sits past Sasuke. Really stupid. Like I said, the work had really bad writing. But we have to include these things to give a accurate power scale. We know the Ten Tails, which is not Kaguya, and I believe Kaguya should be stronger than the Ten Tails. Apparently, when they're giving his lore, which is probably all symbolic, said that he drank oceans, split open the earth, hoisted up mountains, and he is the progenitor who is said to have created this very land. It's very clear that it's probably just being symbolic. He didn't really, do these things, but we're going to include it in here. We also get to see that when the Ten Tails, in its, I believe it was its second state, unleashed a giant explosion of like weather. I don't know if he was like controlling the weather, just the explosion that changed the weather that caused like all these tornadoes and twisters and stuff and lightning. And the Alliance would have died apparently, but no one did, if I'm correct, because of Naruto protecting it with his chakra, which is really ridiculous, but it happened. And yeah, like I said, Sasuke in his perfect Susanoo, unless you're gonna claim that Kakashi's perfect Susanoo has more strength than Sasuke's, which I don't believe. Sasuke in his first Susanoo really wasn't able to trade hands with Kaguya, and Kaguya was basically always knocking him back. And even at one point, you know, we'll get to it when we talk about the durability, but yeah, overall, just not a good look. And we really couldn't scale Kakashi with his perfect Susanoo to Kaguya completely, because even Sasuke in his Sits Past form, Sits Past Sasuke doesn't even scale to Kaguya really. But yeah, but that's gonna be it for Kakashi in his base strength and for his Susanoo strength. Now going back to Thor, as we're gonna be looking over their speed. So going into speed, Thor has 3 feats of speed that we need to talk about. One of them was when an alien child basically did like a prayer, and with this prayer, Thor heard it from like, I think it was a universe away or something. And he says that across the cosmos, I bring with me the storm, and he actually arrives to where the alien child is. Now we don't know how long it took for him to get there, but the fact that he's going a universe away is ridiculous. It's crazy amount of MTFL, you know, massively faster than light, speed and travel speed. So yeah, we also know that when it comes to their battle speed and their travel speed, it shouldn't be too far off from each other. When they were battling against Gore, eventually he left Allfather Thor, or King Thor, to fend off against the black goo that he uses, the all black, I think is what they're called. This light black goo he's using. And yeah, Thor was using Mjolnir to go so fast that he basically was shattering asteroids in his wake, and that the stars flickered. It was pretty awesome. The third feat of speed that we need to acknowledge is that he had gotten a prayer from his girlfriend at the time, who, I forgot what her name was. I think it was like Roxanne or something. I can't remember her name. But basically his girlfriend, or his love interest in this run. And he heard her from space, or he saw her from space. And he went from space, and we can see the moon in the background, to the sea where she's at. And Mjolnir, this needs to be, you know, looked at and counted, is that Mjolnir actually hit the ground first before Thor, so Mjolnir has more speed than Thor, but Thor was like, you know, not that far behind it, and was able to come and land in the ocean in just the next panel after they show him in space with the moon behind him. So he's moving at a ridiculous amount of speed. Also, when we're talking about travel speed and their battle speed, we need to acknowledge that when King Thor used his like Odin blast or his Thor blast and knocked Gore light years away, they went and they got to where Gore was really fast. So yeah, they're moving massively faster than light. Going into Kakashi, when it comes to his speed feats, we need to acknowledge that okay, so this is kind of hard to gauge. You know, Naruto always has a hard time gauging its speed, but let's just go through some of this stuff. So Kakashi in a battle type situation is able to think really fast, and was able to react to Kaguya switching the dimensions where they were at, and was able to save himself by using a kunai and a scroll and Obito and stuff like that. So he saved him and Sakura from dying from the lava. When it comes to his battle speed, he is able to dodge attacks such as the acid from the tail beast, but is not able to dodge certain people like Madara taking out his eye and ripping it out. He wasn't able to react to Obito basically coming in front of him to stop him from comboing the Tintails, basically. I believe it was in its second form at this time. So yeah, combo kind of has a speed disadvantage. You have to be fast enough to be, yeah, you have to hope that your opponent's not faster than you. So against someone like Thor, that's definitely not going to happen. So what happened with him, with Madara and with Obito, is very likely to happen to him against someone like Thor. We also get to see that someone like Kaguya is able to dodge Sasuke's attacks at point blank range, his Raikiri. Ishikadori, which does indeed make you faster than your base speed. So yeah, so Naruto was able to dodge Madara's light feigned attack. I think that's what it was called, or it's his beam of light attack, his light beam attack. But that was a dodge. That's dodging. That's not battle speed, and that's not travel speed. So we can't really just equate them exactly, but we can assume they're near that level at this point. Sasuke and Naruto in their six capacities. So Kaguya is able to dodge their attacks, able to match them in combat, and best Sasuke with his perfect Susanoo against her base form. But we do get to see that when she went into her rabbit giant form, giant Jinchuriki form, Tendo Jinchuriki form, she was able to almost speed blitz Naruto and Sasuke. I think she speed blitzed one of Naruto's clones, if I'm correct. I'm not sure if she was about to speed blitz Sasuke, but he was out of the battle at this point. But, not in the line of fire, because he is in his perfect Susanoo, if I'm correct. Or he might just be with Naruto at the time, just watching the battle, trying to figure out strategy how to beat Kaguya. But Kaguya almost grabs Sakura, because Sakura's not fast enough to get out of the way, and Kakashi, in his perfect Susanoo, was able to grab Sakura and get her to safety, showing that he is faster than Kaguya's hands that were almost, and did tag. It had a Naruto clone, but not the real Naruto. So, we don't know how fast his clones are, if they're the same speed as him, but yeah. He was also able to try to attack Kaguya, but he did get speed blitzed by her, I think it's, the Ash Bones, I think is what it's called. And yeah, he said he was fast, and it would have killed him had he not had the Kamui ability of Obito. So it basically phased through him, and he used this time to use his Kamui Lightning Blade, basically. But as far as speed goes, I would say that they're maybe almost light speed, if not massively faster than lightning. We do know that there are faster than lightning timers near the war arc, especially with people like Raikage in that. And with Itachi not being able to react to Sasuke's Kirin, and that being like a big deal. I mean, he was basically very scared when he saw it. And even, most people like Zetsu, I think, said that it was almost unblockable, or undodgeable. So yeah, I would say most of the higher tier Naruto characters are probably around a high, faster than lightning level, but I wouldn't say they're on light speed, with the exception of Naruto and sits past dodging Madara's light beam. And yeah, that's mainly all I have to say about their speed, unless you want to argue that Kaguya is light speed, but I don't see anything that would point towards that. And Kakashi would be similar in speed, being that he was able to dodge Berserker Rage Kaguya using her Giant Rabbit Jinchuriki mode. But yeah, so let's jump into the next category, which is going to be their tech, which stands for moves they're able to do, or or their knowledge, like their tactical skills. And yeah, so we're going to do Thor again. Now, Thor, with his techniques, is able to send a thunderstorm while not even being near an area. I guess he's able to just think of where he wants the storm to go, and it goes there. So that's very important when it comes to his range. King Thor was able to use his Thor Blast, which is, I believe, like the Odin Force. Or I think it's called the Thor Force in this run. Once King Thor, becomes the Allfather, and he's able to do this blast and knock Gore many light years away, or light years away. And like I said, they got there pretty fast after this, and it said that Gore, and remember, Gore's whole point as a character, as a villain, is that he's killed multiple gods, is on the brink of wiping them all out, and he's had a plan to wipe them all out with the God Bomb, and stuff like that. So, it says that he's known fear again, or for the first time. I think it says the Butcher of Gods knew fear, and it was awesome, and that this was the first time in a millennium that the Butcher of Gods knew fear. Really awesome scene. When it comes to this, we can assume that I believe Thor has a attack that's like I think it's called the Thor Blast or the God Blast something. So it should be very similar to this. I don't expect it to send people light years away, but light years is a ridiculous amount of distance, and even if it was like only 1% of light years, it'd be ridiculous on how far the opponent would go. So unless you're saying that Thor using, I believe it's called the God Blast, is less than 1%, it's going to do massive damage or kill most people and most characters in a versus battle. Thor, while having the all black on him, was able to attack Gore. This didn't kill him, but considering Gore is really durable, so he took that light years away attack and was like barely damaged, even though he was fearful for his life. He wasn't really, on the brink of death. Is really impressive, and we can expect that Thor's base lightning, or him, pushing himself, should do a ridiculous amount of damage to almost any opponent, even without the all black. We are using this image to showcase this, even though, in this fight, we're not giving Thor the all black. You would just have to assume that it would be on a way lower level, his attack, but it still would do massive damage, like I said, to most people in most verses, so we should include it. Like a base version of the attack, not the all black version of Thor using the attack. When it comes to weather stuff, like weather jutsu, I don't think it would work on a large scale. Maybe on a small scale, like a pinpointed attack is on a large scale. Thor was able to part the seas, like a giant tsunami that it came. I think it was on Hawaii or something like that. He was able to save everyone by parting the seas, basically, and getting it to where it didn't kill anyone or something like that. He basically saved the people that were about to die, and that were drowning and stuff. So, really cool scene, and I don't think anything less than, a pinpointing attack would really work when it comes to like an elemental jutsu and stuff like that. And the final thing we have to talk about when it comes to his tech is Mjolnir. Mjolnir, in the beginning of the video, I said can shatter planets. That was confirmed with the fight against Gore when they were destroying moons and stuff like that. And even Thor, with just his hands, was able to stabilize the core and put a planet back together. So it made sense that, Mjolnir powers Thor up. It seems to be faster than him, probably stronger than him. His base, power, with just his hands and his fists. So it would make sense that it definitely could shatter planets and just destroy them. And he was able to beat Malekith, who I believe defeated Odin. And like I said, Thor in this run did defeat Odin in a battle, even though Odin has said in this run that he's definitely weaker than he used to be, so he shouldn't be like multiversal levels of power. But, it's still an impressive feat. Because if he is multiversal levels of power or multiversal levels of strength, that's still an impressive feat for Thor, even if he was lowered down to like universal and stuff like that on a universal level or something. So, yeah, that's it for Thor when it comes to tech. Looking at Warrior Kakashi when it comes to his tech, we have a few things to go over. Number one is his lightning blade. Like I just said, his lightning blade was able to cut, I believe they were like in their 4-tailed state or 6-tailed state, all the Jinchuriki, and he was able to cut every single one of them, if I'm correct. Well, their tails and that. He also has the Conway, which can warp time space and send you into a different dimension, any spot that his Conway uses it on. The biggest disadvantage with this is that it takes time, but if it does succeed, could kill people. You just rip off their head with it. Kakashi's never been successful with this technique in Naruto, if I'm correct. I think he was only able to do it on, I think it was Datara. I want to say he did it on Toby as well, when he was still wearing the orange mask, but I can't remember. I don't think he would have done it on Toby. Toby would have just stopped it with his Sharingan, like he does multiple times throughout the world. Not to himself, I believe, but to other people. Kakashi's able to use his lightning affinity to basically, or I think it's affinity, yeah, to basically use his weapons to cut through solid objects like giant boulders and stuff. I think it was like a giant rock. And yeah, really cool. So he can run his lightning blade through stuff like kunai and that, which are very damaging. In his perfect seasonal state, he should be able to rip and cut through stuff that are like asteroids or meteors, because Sasuke was able to do with his perfect Susanoo and his sword. So that should be interesting. When it comes to Ted, like I said, tonight we'll talk about intelligence. Kakashi is one of the most intelligent fighters in Naruto, being very good tactician. Next to people like Shikamaru, probably not as good, but it's still a very good tactician. He also has stuff like Genjutsu, that I'm not sure he can do something like Tsukiyomi. I don't think he can. I think that's a new Chia thing. But Kakashi does have normal Genjutsu, so that's important to note. And he does have decent or very good Taijutsu, mostly coming out on top in his Taijutsu battles, except against people like, I think it was Kakuzu and Sasuke. I don't think he came out on top using Taijutsu for them. And yeah, he's basically able to use his Raikiri to cut through multiple people, very tactitious, with his abilities. stuff like illusions might be able to block it with his perfect Susanoo. It's debatable if it's Sasuke's Rinnegan. It's implied it's Sasuke's Rinnegan that's blocking Defen and Tsukiyomi from attacking Naruto and Team 7. And like I said, overall, the last, I think, technique or a few techniques he has is his ninja dogs. He's able to summon them, and he can use this to grab his opponent. This wouldn't really work on someone like Thor that's very overpowered, but mainly for someone that could be captured and held down for a split second to land the hit, or a few moments to land the hit of Raikiri on the person. He's able to, like a lot of characters in the series, make shadow clones, and he was shown at the very beginning of the series to be able to make a few dozen, I believe, shadow clones, so he could use that to try to distract Thor in that, and try to get a good, attack in that would finish the fight early. And he's able to use a technique of having both of the Sharingan eyes from Obito, but to use Conway Shuriken. These Conway Shuriken are like giant versions of Shuriken that when they touch you, they basically warp time space and send you into, I guess, the Conway dimension. So he's able to use this to basically take out Kaguya's arms, or a few of her rabbit Jinchuriki arms, if not all of them. I think he took out all of them. And he's able to use a Conway Lightning Blade as well as let things phase through him. This Conway Lightning Blade basically severed or cut through most of Kaguya's arm, like her shoulder, and almost detached her arm, if I'm correct. And this is important because Kaguya should have massively high durability, considering it's moderate to in his Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki state. And I believe they have regeneration, but I don't think Kakashi does. And yeah, he's also able to use Conway during the final part or final phase of Kaguya's fight with Team 7. Showing that while he's in this state, this perfect Susanoo state, he can use Conway. He uses it at least, I believe, 3 times. As he used it with the Conway Shurikens, he used it for Conway Lightning Blade. I would assume he's using Conway for that, to fuse them, and then he uses regular Conway as well. So he has at least 3 usages of this without showing any tire. So he definitely has more stamina when he's in this state. And yeah. And that's basically it for tech. Going into the final category for both characters, we have their durability. And yeah, this should be interesting. Going with Thor first, we need to look at his durability against Gore the God Butcher, and that he tortured him, I believe, for like 7 days or 9 days. I think it was like 9. It was 7, 8, or 9. But Thor basically survived and was able to land almost a killing blow. Basically, I think he took off Thor's like arm or something like that after the torture for that many days. So something like Tsukiyomi, if it was possible for Kakashi to do it, even if it was on a high level like Itachi's, probably shouldn't be able to take Thor out or even get him to the point where he couldn't fight, like Kakashi was after Itachi did it to him, or Sasuke was kind of stunned even after he broke out of Tsukiyomi during his fight with Itachi. And yeah, so we have that. We also have that he actually absorbed the power of the God Bomb, which was gonna destroy all gods in existence, basically. This is a ridiculous feat, in that, even Odin didn't think that someone like Thor would be able to do something like this. He kind of had faith in him, but this is like a ridiculous feat that he was saving like all the gods and all the existence, basically, and he was able to take it. And Gort didn't believe that it was possible, that this was able to happen, that he was absorbing it into himself. So such an amazing feat of durability for him. He's also able to fight against the Juggernaut, and the Juggernaut was just, attacking him, just like completely taking him down, rocking him, basically. And the thing that's important about this is that Juggernaut states that he's more powerful than he's ever been, because he's in the temple of the Scissoret, I think is what it's called, or something like that. Scissoret, I think is what it's called. And it's the thing that gives him his power. I think like the gem that gives him his power, like the god or something. And because they're in this temple, he's the most powerful he'll ever be, or they could be. And Thor is able to survive this battle and takes massive blows from the Juggernaut and is able to survive. So that's impressive. He was also able to tie himself to the God Tree, or the World Tree. I think it's called the World Tree, and that was on fire in the sun. And I believe it was on the sun or something. And he was able to survive this, as well as the explosion that happened of the God Tree, or the World Tree. Um, and it's an amazing feat because not only are you dealing with the sun's explosion, I don't think the entire sun exploded. I think it was just like a portion of it that exploded the tree, the World Tree exploded, and that's what exploded on the sun. It didn't explode the actual sun, but exploded on the sun. Makes a lot more sense. So I believe the sun's still there after this moment. But yeah, so Thor survived that explosion as well, which is super impressive. And the last durability feat is that I believe it was Loki's father had taken artifact from Asgard, and this artifact had the ability to freeze all the realms of like existence or something, like all 10 realms. And it was actually going to kill everybody that wasn't able to handle this temperature. It was stated that even so, the blood of the gods basically would turn into slush. That's how cold it was going to get. And luckily, Thor didn't have to go through that because Loki's dad basically got killed. I believe it was by Loki by cutting himself out of his father, blowing himself out of his father, and just killing him one shot with all his guts, coming out and stuff like that. But that's it, for Thor. That was the final, category for him. Jumping to the final category for Kakashi is his durability as well. And yeah, his durability is pretty interesting. Before he has the Susanoo 2 eyes from Obito Amp, base Kakashi, he can only use Conway so many times before he starts getting very exhausted and fatigued, and this definitely would not work against someone like Thor because he's going to get one-shotted if this is the case. In his Susanoo form, we know that Sasuke was constantly being pushed back by Kaguya and almost died multiple times against Kaguya, and he states that even Susanoo doesn't work. So Sasuke is basically giving up on using Susanoo despite it being probably his best weapon next to his teleporting ability. We do know that Kakashi in base was able to take attacks, but as well as Guy was able to take attacks by the 4-tail or 6-tail versions of the Jinchuriki. So that's really cool. We also get to see that people like Tobito is what we usually call him, the 10-tails Jinchuriki version of Obito, but this is before he became the perfected version, was able to grab Sasuke and Naruto at the same time. But the impressive part is that he's able to grab Sasuke while he has Susanoo up. So it's very iffy with how Susanoo is portrayed in Naruto, the series, because sometimes you can't get through Susanoo, but it seems like if you're more powerful enough or are fast enough to get in Susanoo before it completely seals the person up, inside of it, you're able to grab him. And this almost killed Sasuke had Naruto not used his speed to basically grab his dad and get them out of there with his dad's teleportation ability. Because you have to remember, this is before Sasuke had the 6 pass powers as well as Naruto's 6 pass, so he didn't have the teleportation ability yet. When Kakashi fought Obito and took the damage that he took against him in their fight, he was basically out of the series for like a few dozen chapters, if I'm correct. The entire fight with Obito as a Jinchuriki, a Tento Jinchuriki, Kakashi was recovering in the Conway dimension to recover his chakra to get himself out of there. So that shows that his chakra reserves were not that great during the war. Yeah, and there was definitely some plot holes with War of Kakashi, but we won't get into that here. He wasn't able to tank the attack of the Ten-Tails Blast in his base form. Him and Guy thought, this was the end, and that they were done for, that it was over. And yeah, we also get to see that whenever the Jinchurikis were going to launch their tail beast bombs, that they basically, Kakashi basically says that he'll blast them away with his Conway. And my guy thinks he's going to have to use the 8th gate in order to, stop them. So this shows that base Kakashi definitely could not compete with a high level of power when it comes to high radius, like a long radius of an explosion, or just the sheer power of it. It took Naruto going Bijou mode to basically stop all of these Bijou bombs from killing Kakashi, Guy, and Killer Bee, and the 8-tails basically. We also get to see that when it comes to, like I said, Susanoo's durability, his perfect Susanoo durability, he should not be better than Sasuke. It just wouldn't make any sense unless we're stating that Kakashi with both Obito's eyes is just a powerhouse and is overpowered, more overpowered than Sasuke. Also, when it comes to power levels, like, power explosions on what they contain, it was stated that this little time space that Kaguya had, this little like pocket dimension, was going to be destroyed with her not tailed beast bomb, is her true secret orb. And this true secret orb was going to destroy it and create a new time space. So we don't know how big this pocket dimension is, so it's not really something to argue about, but it is something that we should mention that they were not going to survive this, none of them. This includes Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto. No one was going to survive it except Kaguya, and Black Zetsu probably. But we do know that when it comes to like the scaling of what they can tank, from a power standpoint, that Madara in his Ten Tails Jinchuriki state, his perfect version, that did not have all the amps they would have had he not gotten taken out of the series prematurely, basically by Blood Zetsu, was able to take Hiradora to the face and basically counter it with just his Sith Path staff, basically. This was stated to be a massively impressive feat by everyone that was fighting there. And yeah, overall that was it for his durability. When it comes to base Kakashi, really anything from like Thor's lightning attacks, even his most basic lightning attacks, should probably be able to take Kakashi out. And when it comes to his Susanoo, perfect Susanoo Kakashi mode or form, the fact that Kaguya was able to just throw hands and take Sasuke out multiple times or push him back to the point where Sasuke just kept trying, it just was never working. And when they finally did Kaguya in, it was by sealing her and not killing her. I'm not sure that's because she's immortal or they just did not have the power it took to be able to face against her like that, which would make a lot more sense considering what we see in Boruto with other Itsuki members not being immortal in a sense, but they're immortal in a sense that they can transfer their souls and stuff like that, but not in the sense that they literally cannot be killed, their bodies. So I don't know if Kaguya is supposed to be different. Maybe she is. I'm not sure she ever clarified that. But if that's not the case, they just clearly did not have the power to take her out in a physical sense, so they had to seal her, which would make a lot more sense with what we see in Boruto and Naruto in general. With their characters and the people that they have fought in the past. Despite Kaguya being a completely new type of character at the time, being an Itsuki that we weren't really introduced to anywhere in the series other than at the final portions of the Fourth Great Ninja War arc. But yeah, so durability wise, Thor should be able to break through Susanoo or even grab Kakashi or attack him before he's able to seal himself in the perfect Susanoo anyway. And when it comes to a fight, now that we've talked about all the categories, when it comes down to the fight and how I think it would go, I don't think that Thor seeing Kakashi would go all out, but I don't see any way that Kakashi really could beat Thor, being that some stuff like Genjutsu shouldn't work because of the torture he was able to endure with Thor, who had actually killed multiple gods and tortured them and killed them. So these things should be way more durable than Kakashi. Almost any one of them should probably be, because they should be on a high level, being gods and all. And the fact that Thor apparently probably went the longest getting tortured, and still after that was able to cut off one of Thor's arms, I believe it was his right arm, is amazing. It's an amazing feat for his durability and his mental strength and stuff like that. Even though he does have some issues in this run with his father and, wanting to accept him and stuff like that. Wanting him to accept him, stuff like that, to get the throne, and become King Thor and feel worthy to be the All-Father and that. But as far as battle goes, completely different, and he doesn't seem to have issues fighting against strong opponents like Gore the God Butcher. Even other opponents he fought, like Malekith, and I think his name was Ratson or something. I forgot what his actual demon name was, or his god name. But he had like strength, like the whole Thor stated. He fights against him as well. He just fights against multiple overpowered opponents in this run, and he's able to do just fine against them. When it comes to jutsus, like I said, it's kind of hard because they couldn't be widespread jutsus because of stuff like what he did with the tsunami and just parting it into two different ways, basically, to save all the people that were in Hawaii or in that area that was getting affected. So a wide range attack really shouldn't work in any elemental sense, elemental jutsu, and hand to hand should not be an option. And yeah, overall, I think people will look at the Kamui Shuriken. I do think out of all of them, and that's why I even made this battle, is I think that if there was a chance, it could be probably the Kamui Shuriken, but you would have to hope that Kakashi could do a distraction, which he might be able to, with shadow clones and that, is able to land those on Thor and basically warp him out of existence. Just like kill him like that by warping different parts of his body into the Kamui dimension, basically ripping him apart. Which should be interesting. And maybe that is a win condition for War Kakashi. Let me know down below if you believe that that's possible for him to get that, to pull that off. But considering the speed feats you saw, I don't see that happening. I think almost in every category Thor is on a different level, and I think the Jason Aaron Thor, if I'm correct, should be one of the weaker Thors in the Thor series of Thors. The series of Thor runs and continuity. So I don't know if there is a version of Thor that Kakashi in his War Kakashi state, perfect Susanoo form state, is able to defeat. But maybe eventually we'll talk about different versions of Thor going up against this version of Kakashi, because this is the most powerful version, if I'm correct. There is speculation, and some people do state that Hokage Kakashi is the strongest, I think. So maybe someone that knows all that stuff about Naruto can leave a comment down below. Let me know about that. And yeah, overall, I thought this was really interesting. Kakashi is a great tactician, but that can only get you so far. And like I said, as far as having the Kamui Shuriken, which are very overpowered, and we're able to warp Kaguya and rip her Rapid Jinchuriki arms off, or tails. I think they were arms. Whatever they were, ripped them off. I just ripped off her arms, basically. And I believe that could definitely kill some characters, had that landed on an actual character, instead of just limbs and that, and hands and that. So yeah, so I think that could be a win condition, but I just don't see it happening. But yeah, leave a comment down below, guys. What do you think of this battle? Do you think that there's any way where Kakashi could pull off the win? Do you think that Thor in this run is just too overpowered? I was originally gonna put in King Thor, which is the future version of Jason Aaron Thor, but as you saw in this video, King Thor, or All-Father Thor, as he's also known, was able to hit Thor light years away. Like, there's no way Kakashi's surviving that in base, or even in his perfect Susanoo, when people like Sasuke, who should be stronger than Kakashi, was getting kicked out of his perfect Susanoo by someone like Jigen that doesn't display even close to that level of power and strength. And power like that is just, it's ridiculous. And it's definitely one of the coolest things that was in the Jason Aaron Thor run. And I do recommend you go check it out. Like I said, there's some great strength power feats that are in the series. Feats in general, they're just amazing. And the stories are just good. So I do recommend it. We'll have a link down below to go check out Jason Aaron Thor's run on Comicsology, because it's fantastic, and I did enjoy almost every minute of it, with some exceptions and some down moments. But other than that, it had a lot of high moments, and it's a series you definitely should read if you want to get into the Thor character, and you've never read him or never thought you would be interested in Thor, which I personally never thought I would. I really enjoyed it. I definitely do agree with people that it's definitely probably one of the best Thor runs of all time, being my first one I've ever read. First Thor run I've ever read. But that's going to be all. Leave a comment down below on any way you think Kakashi could win this, and what you thought of the battle in general and how I presented it to you, and who you would like to see in the future when it comes to Marvel and DC going against the Naruto universe, and which character in the Naruto universe do you want to see. I already have my next video planned out, so I will be taking suggestions pretty soon, but so leave a comment down below. And yeah, until next video, guys, God bless you. Until the next lesson, keep on reading those comments.